is so I know right now is the middle of November, and a lot of you are preparing for your last couple of midterms, and some of you have already started your finals early, whether it's projects, essays, or whatever. So thank you all for taking the time to join us tonight for this workshop as we learn more about like different tips and strategies that Luis and I have for you and preparing for finals. So earlier we went through the icebreaker, and now we'll go into our discussion topics. So these are the 3 discussion topics for this first activity. In your breakout rooms, you'll be discussing common, problems that many students, face, such as struggling with writing a 5 to 15 page paper, right? So it can be daunting just thinking about it, especially when you feel like you have other priorities and tasks going on in your everyday life. Another challenge that many people have is homework problems every week that never seem to end. Or for some of you, test anxiety, like preparing for a test, you feel confident, but on the day of in the lecture, something happens and everything you feel like you studied kind of goes out the window. Um, so these are 3 topics that we wanted, as a group, for you guys to discuss. So in your breakout rooms, Luis, if you can create some breakout rooms, you're going to, as a group, decide which of the topics you're going to discuss together and answer the following question. What is your biggest challenge with respect to this topic right now? Can you share any concrete examples? What strategies have you used to overcome this challenge? And in the chat, you will be given a link to a Padlet that your group can also comment on to put your answers. But you will have around 7 minutes in your breakout rooms to discuss these questions as it relates to the common challenge. So again, you might want to save this link in another window before you go into your breakout room. So I put it in the chat again for everyone. So please go to that Padlet link, and then Luis, let us know when the breakout rooms are ready.
Okay, you can join.
Okay, so all of you have been assigned to a breakout room. Feel free to join that breakout room, and yeah, these are the questions you'll be discussing with the Padlet. So now we'll go into study skills and strategies that we have to share with you. But first, just a reminder for everyone, as you are preparing for your finals and the last couple of midterms or assignments or big projects, take a look at your syllabus again, and really review like what the learning objectives are from the class, any weekly concepts, or even any information about the grading system. It's really important that as you all are looking at where you currently stand in your classes, that you have an idea of what is expected from you by your professor.
Thank you. Now we will talk about how to prepare for tests. I recommend you that you ask your professor or your TA as many questions as you can to really know what to expect on the test. And you can ask and push until they tell you like, I cannot tell you that, but that's fine. I think it's natural for you to ask. Questions can be, what is the format? Is it gonna be multiple choice? Is it gonna be writing an essay? Is it gonna be writing short answers if it's a humanities class? If it's a science class, are you gonna focus on big problems or small multiple choice ones? How many questions? So you know how much time you are gonna have, and then how much time you should spend in each question. Usually these questions you can ask them in a group, like when they are reviewing the finals preparation as a class or in a session, but if not, you can do it during office hours. And of course, the professors teach and TAs want you to pass, so they will be welcoming of your questions. Another key is to understand the difference between recall and recognition. If right now I ask you, what is the capital of France? Probably all of you hopefully know that very fast it's Paris, right? That is, you are able to recall. You don't need any prompting, you don't need any clues, you know it's Paris. But if I ask you what is the capital of Botswana, probably you don't know the answer, but if I give you clues, you might say, oh, this doesn't sound like, this sounds more of Asia, this sounds more of Europe, and then you can deduce which is the correct answer, but you need prompting. The goal for you as you learn for whatever you are studying is to be able to recall information that one day is going to help you work. And the way you do this is by another word that starts with an R, which is repetition. The more you repeat the information, the more it's more likely that it's gonna stay in your head. And how do you do that? You can use flashcards, you can review, and then once you know the answer for one of them constantly, then you can just ignore it and then focus on the ones that are still challenging for you to remember. Someone also shared, Jordan, thank you, predict exam questions. You can ask ChatGPT to do that now. Or use the practice exams that your professor gives you. For sure, like if the professor is giving you anything for preparing for the test, they are making the test. They want you to pass, so they are also making the guide. Use study guides. Sometimes the professor is going to give you one, or you, if there is none, you're encouraged to get a group of people and say, like, can we share notes? Can we create a study guide together? So not everything it depends on you. You might miss one day of class, you might miss a concept, but another person gets it, and then you can use it and collaborate. For math, go over wrong answers, but it's not only looking at the problem. We won't learn like that. You solve the problem again and make sure that you can do it without looking at your notes. But yeah, focus on those gaps of knowledge. And a comment regarding cheat sheets. Some classes, especially in math, they allow you to have like a sheet with formulas. Some students put as many information as they can, and then when they are in the moment of the test, they cannot use it because they don't understand the concepts, and it's just something with so much information that it's hard to navigate. So don't try to understand the material and only put there the necessary things. Next slide. Where to study, this is up to you. I both of those depending on what type of work. Sometimes I want to be in a place where there is some background noise or voices or a cafe, or for studying for really like focus, I need a place that is totally quiet in my room or the library. So if it's home, it's more likely you might get distracted. You might want to go to your room, so it's not encouraged. If you go to the library, then it's a place to focus and also be in silence and be surrounded by people who are also focusing, so it's less distractions. Or if you want to collaborate with other people and you want to ask questions, you might decide to study in the classroom if there is a study time for you or during sessions. And also, if you like to have background noise to do some light work that doesn't require strong focus, you can go to a coffee shop. And that goes to the next point, which is getting out of campus. I am sure finance approach, and it's a very stressful season. You are not the only person stressed. Everyone, as you see, is stressed. So maybe getting out of campus to a coffee shop, to a park, it might help you get out of that environment and really focus on the things that you need to do. Now, between a desk, a couch, a table, of course, don't do it on a couch, or your bed is not even included because you should not be studying in your bed. I don't, never. Because you might get drowsy, you might get distracted. Try to put your phone away from you if it's something that distracts you. Help yourself make it easier for you. Don't make it hard.
Yeah.
And a desk and a table is usually the best for you to use. Sit, and then once you're done, you can go wherever you
Yeah,
want.
I'll just add real quick that for all the freshmen in the room, like some of your campus community centers or student services centers might have study jams too, or like for the weeks leading up to finals, like a dedicated day where they let students like really just spend the day there studying and provide snacks or other refreshments and stuff. So if you're staying on campus late, that might be a good place to also like study at, as long as you don't get distracted.
Thank you, Whitney. And then the next point is always the ideal is to have cumulative review instead of cramming. If you are still on time to you can start today, like the classes you go, you're gonna start reviewing little by little. If it's today, well, things happen. Next you can try next semester or quarter. Again, the key is repetition of information. For example, if you go to class, if you it's like after 1 hour or even just after class, spend 5 minutes reading your notes, skimming, you will remember you will remember much more information about that class. And then when the time of finals come, it's gonna be easier for you and it's gonna take less time for you to remember and study during the final season. And break down your studying into manageable parts. As you prepare for finals, or for tests, identify all the materials that you have and then pick what are the most relevant and efficient for you. If it's the textbook, if it's the lecture PowerPoints, maybe there are videos that the lectures that you went and the concepts weren't clear, or assignments that you can redo the problems and then practice yourself if you can do them without any tools, any notes. And you also can review your midterms, your quizzes, to see what are the gaps in knowledge. Because if you won't have time, especially during finals or midterms, to review every single thing that you cover, like textbook, lecture, like you need to be efficient. So another way to do it is to focus on the gaps, things that you don't know, and you can ignore or left the things that you already understand for if you have time for later, but really focus on completing those gaps of knowledge. So you go to the test with confidence, knowing like, okay, I might not be like perfect, but at least I know the basics of every single thing. Now, as someone also touched on AI, and that's what we're gonna talk about now. So Instruct GPT was a step before Chat GPT. And Instruct GPT, you could only give a prompt and then it needed to be very specific and then it would give you an answer. And that was it. With ChatGPT, the advantage of it is that you can establish a dialogue with it. And that's how you are supposed to use it. To get tighter results, once it gives you an answer, ask a follow-up question and a follow-up question so it's more targeted to what you need. And one of the things you can do is, for example, if you're struggling with a task, if you're struggling with a skill that you wish you had academically, you can think of it and then ask for a specific or meticulous advice, those keywords, using those keywords. And I will share, then I will read this comment from Johan. Also, Gauss is a great AI to help with homework and studying. Thank you so much, Johan. Gauss. I will give a personal example. I took this independent class, and I was given 5 books a week to read, which for me was totally new. And I thought at the beginning that it was a joke, but it wasn't. And the professor really expected me to read those 5 books every single week. And I didn't know what to do. If I had this tool before, it would have been much easier. But if I had AI back then, I would have done the following things. You can use this prompt. So pretend you are whatever, and you need to your task. You want to your goal, learn the material well, and then this is 100 pages of a biography per day. But you and then the constraint that you have, the specific circumstances. what specific strategies you use, what specific actions you take. What ChatGPT told me was a very perfect thing, perfect steps that I would really learn a lot, but I don't have the time. It was very specific, it was very elaborate, but I just don't have the time. It was like a scheme and then ask questions, make a summary, note the keywords. It was like, I just cannot. So I would ask another, respond to it and say, I need to do it in one single sitting. And still, ChatGPT gave me a very long list that I don't have enough time for that. So I will tell it, I only have 2 hours, and then give for each step exactly what I am supposed to do and provide examples. And it was very helpful. It told me, if I remember well, to skim first, and then to notice those keywords, to notice the trends, and then go back again. So read very fast at first, and then go back to the beginning and read a little bit slower, and then finish, and then go back again to fill out those questions. And that was more efficient than me trying to read as if I was reading a novel, very slow, like from beginning to end, which was not efficient. Next slide. During this time, this was before ChatGPT, I will go to academic coaching and also will ask the professor, like, how are you expecting me to read five? Like, what do I do? And both of them tell me, you need to skim. You need to skim. You don't need to like read everything. I am not asking you that. But I didn't understand. When I asked, what do you mean by skim? And they was like, just skim. And I was like, what do you mean? Today, there is ChatGPT, so I could ask this question. I have trouble understanding what skim means. Um, and my question specifically was like, where my eyes are supposed to look in the page. And I scanned the page and pasted, and then it told me paragraph by paragraph, these are the words that I would pick if I was skimming, and it makes sense. It says notice key terms, but you don't need to read every single word. And then it it told me to notice key terms, but don't read every single word. And I would ask, like, how can you do that? How do you know it's a key term if you don't read everything? And the answer was to notice capital letters that start with a capital letter, so proper nouns. Also notice the format, and also knowing that I will miss some words. But the key was to notice which words repeat themselves often, and then by the end of those 100 pages, skimming very fast, I don't know what it's talking about, but at least I have a vague idea of what I will expect in the next during like the focus and more detailed reading. And then after that, I will just ask for like a self evaluation of what am I supposed to learn. So if you think of a similar struggle or different, you can use ChatGPT to really get detailed advice on what you can do.
All right, so I'm going to share a little bit about some things. When can you use AI? So in studying, definitely to what Luis mentioned, checking your comprehension on or summarizing like dense text that you've already reviewed, just to make sure you have a good understanding of what you read. It can also help you, brainstorm or outline your ideas that you prompt it to, and then definitely help you process or encourage you with your studying. And also any resources that you haven't already thought of to improve your study techniques or habits. Some clear areas where you shouldn't use AI is definitely to get answers to your homework or assignments, using it to cheat or plagiarize, and just be aware that just as there's a lot of AI tools that are really helpful in studying, and helping you study, there's also a lot of new software that are really smart and can scan the work that you turn in to determine if AI was used or not. So just a little warning on the pros and cons of using AI in your studying.
And now I would like to note these. There are several, as Johan mentioned, one of them, Gal. There are these others that are especially focused on studying aids. So, for example, if I have to read these papers, 23 pages for political science, this tool, MindGrasp, allows to create notes, a summary, flashcards, and quizzes. So with what I will do, I will paste the link for you to process it, and I will solve a quiz before reading the text. So I have an idea of what is my level of understanding so far about the topic. And I also will have an idea of what are the key terms that the paper is going to talk about. And then I might review the flashcards. But after doing this, and then I read the paper with a much more bird's eye view, so I can really understand and don't get lost in the details, which is something I struggle with. So you don't need to use this. ChatGPT can do it as well. These are just that it saves you all those steps of creating the prompts.
So whether just in the chat or if anyone wants to unmute real quick, was one study tip that resonates with you, either something you heard tonight or just one that you've heard a peer say or one that maybe wasn't even mentioned. So yeah, take a moment, 30 seconds to maybe type in the chat or if anyone wants to unmute themselves as well. The 15-15 rule, what is that, Johan? Leaving
Basically,
my phone in.
it's
Oh, go
just
ahead.
basically the 15-15-15 rule is basically you study for 15 minutes, break for 15 minutes, and then study again for another 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's very similar to also the Pomodoro technique as well, where you study for 25 minutes and it's a little bit of a shorter break, like 5 to 10 minutes, and then you study again for another 25. And then I saw using ChatGPT to create practice problems, using ChatGPT to help me learn how to work through a math problem. Okay. And leaving my phone in another room, using ChatGPT in a more productive manner. Okay. Yeah, so keep adding to the chat if there's any other study tips that y'all heard tonight or even heard from each other that was really helpful or resonates with you, and so that we can all share our resources and knowledge with each other. So I'm going to talk about getting into the studying mindset. So sometimes we just don't want to get started, and that's okay. It can be a struggle. I experience this quite a bit. And how can we practice different techniques or strategies to help motivate ourselves to, get in the mood for studying or have a more positive approach and attitude towards learning? So when thinking about, just like your mindset around learning and studying, right? Oops. It's important to embrace a growth mindset. So instead of focusing on, fixed abilities, think more about the process, right? Instead of saying, I'm never good at math or I'm not good, think about it in a reframing your mindset to, I'm not good at this yet. And use your mistakes from past exams, past quizzes as a learning opportunity and not consider it failure. We are all in this process of learning, what works for us in different classes. So having a growth mindset is also a way to be a little bit more kinder to yourself when you make a mistake too. Reframe your negative thoughts into positive action. So what I mean by that is challenging some of that negative self-talk that might come up, when you're feeling really stressed. And encouraging yourself and being kinder to yourself. So instead of like the absolutes, like I'll never be able to understand this problem, I'm maybe reframing that thought to I'm struggling right now, but I can improve with effort or taking small steps. And then shift to a more solution focused mindset. So what are those small steps you can take to change that, right? Is it reviewing your notes? Is it doing all the different test taking tips that Luis mentioned? So yeah, reframing and challenging that negative self-talk. Visualize your success. So remind yourself, what are you working towards, right? And how will you feel when you're done? So that you have this clear goal in mind, so that once you finish a study session, you're feeling a little bit more confident. I saw a lot of people in the Padlet earlier today add a lot of different solutions and to the different challenges that we talked about. So, you know, if you visualize your goals and success each day and take small steps, you know, that can help build confidence leading up to finals. Focus on the effort, not perfection. No one's gonna care how perfect your notes look. What matters is that, you know, you're putting in the time and effort to make sure that you understand, you know, where your gaps are, and then learn from your past mistake. So ask yourself, what can you learn from this, and what can you do differently next time? And of course, celebrate any small win. And then most importantly, focus on what is in your control, right? So you can't control what type of final you'll be given. You can't control what other people are doing, what your friends are doing, but you can control what you're doing. So whether that's study habits, whether that is being really strict about your time management, or starting to, you know, make some adjustments to your time management, and then making a plan and sticking to it is the most important thing. And then focus on the process, not just the outcome. Make learning enjoyable in some way. You can create flashcards, make it a game to test yourself with your friends. Break studying into chunks, and just really stay present and celebrate any like small win. So how does that translate into your own studying technique? Um, First, I would say identifying, you know, what is your goal or task that you need to do? And then, you know, trying to evaluate, okay, what do I know about, for example, if it's math, my approach to math, is what I'm doing currently working? If not, how can I change my approach to, you know, some people mentioned like sometimes the hard problems have more than one way of doing things. So maybe it's a different approach that I need to take. If it's a reading or like an essay that I'm tackling, right? If I haven't tried outlining, maybe I can do that instead. Whatever it is, try to, once you have that goal in mind, try to see your own process and evaluate how you're currently doing. And then make a plan. So plan your approach and your study strategies to determine the best one, right? So that can be like, okay, I'm committing to spending 2 hours each day to review concepts from each chapter, so that I'm not doing, you know, cramming all in one day, and then I'm doing practice problems in chunks of studying. And then action. So once you make your plan, you know, apply different strategies and adjust as you go along. So maybe you'll start, if it's a math example, for example, you'll start studying like one concept area one day. And then, you know, once you are confident, maybe you'll start testing yourself, doing those practice problems. Or if it's reading, right, you're trying to read the text and then skim or annotate. For those of you who like to print out your readings or, you know, annotate on your computer, maybe that could be another approach to helping you retain that information, be able to recall the key concepts. So this process is really unique and to yourself. So it really does take some self-reflection to figure out like what works best for your own studying approach. So now we'll talk a little bit about time management. In terms of time management, prioritization and commitment is key. So what do I mean by that? Set clear priorities and know what you value and make choices that align with those goals, right? So if you really value, you know, having enough sleep every night so that you're alert and focused for class and you can retain information better, make choices that reflect that, right? Don't go to bed at, whatever hour and go to class the next day on 1 or 2 hours of sleep. If that is, if sleep is what you value. Um, and learn how to say no, like set some boundaries either with your friends, with yourself, and understand your own needs versus what other people are doing. And then, of course, stick making a plan and sticking with it. And then once you get closer to maybe some deadlines, categorizing your tasks into what's just like you would categorize like with budgeting, what are your needs and wants. Sort your tasks into what are you need to do this in order to study and retain the information versus things that you would like to do if you have a little bit more time, and then the would be nice. So these are maybe the extra steps of, okay, I'll do the optional reading if I have time. And then of course normalizing your going to office hours, studying, going to tutoring sessions, or any other related tasks in part of your everyday routine, just like you would do with brushing your teeth. Planning and focusing, so always plan ahead. There's this what is this word? There's this phrase that my friend used to tell me. It was prior proper planning prevents perplexing problems. So I thought it was really funny because it started with all P's, but yeah, I think the more time you give yourself to plan things in advance, you can avoid, high stress situations where you're doing things at the last minute. So being both strict but also flexible for with yourself is important. Giving yourself like some cushion in between, study sessions and going to class, or making sure you're incorporating your breaks, your eating time, your transitions. Be realistic with your goals and know where you stand in your class. By that I mean, okay, if you have a C right now, you're not going to miraculously jump from a C to an A in like 1 or 2 weeks of finals, but maybe you can set smaller goals that are a little bit more realistic, like maintaining that grade or maybe bumping it up to a B, and then figuring out what you need to do to get there. Prepare for procrastination. So, like I said, sometimes it's hard to really get into the studying mindset, but on these days, just being kinder to yourself, but also slowly easing into the work and not giving yourself something that is super intense right away, and just building up on what you're already doing and establishing, a regular routine for studying, going to tutoring or office hours. Um, I'm not sure why we can't see the picture, but um, on the screen, if the picture is showing, is a weekly time finder where you can use as an example to how I might plan my schedule around, okay, in my week I want to make sure I'm incorporating time I need to wake up, to travel, to have lunch, but also where I have classes and then I need to study. And then think about during leading up to finals, which classes do you feel like you need more time to prepare for, and plan ahead. um and if it's definitely a class that you struggle more in, for sure try to prioritize your study time around that class. But don't forget your other classes as well. And then lastly, just stay focused by using alarms, timers. Make sure when you're taking breaks, you're actually taking breaks and not, um, doing things that stress you out, or like going down the rabbit hole of your phone, which is a big challenge for a lot of people. And also listen to your body. I think self-care and wellness is super important when you're studying and also preparing for finals, right? identify when you're most alert and when you need to prioritize sleep. Like sometimes instead of staying up and pulling an all-nighter, it might be better for you to just go to sleep and then wake up early the next day so that you're a little bit more focused and have the energy to retain information. And of course, make sure you're practicing self-care, such as, eating healthy, not drinking too much caffeine, and taking breaks, exercising, whatever you need to do to keep yourself afloat. And then believe in yourself because you guys are already doing many things right. So keep building on that. I also just have a quick Canvas tip for y'all. So if you didn't know, you can connect your Canvas if your school does use Canvas to your Google Calendars. And you can connect it in a way that you can hide it from your personal calendar, but you can also show it when you need to. So if anyone has any questions on how to do that, just feel free to ask me. But you can see there's like a little button on your Canvas to get the URL, and you can add that to your Google Calendar. So the last section is really just, so finals week prep. What do you need to know? What type of finals do you have? What can you start doing now to prepare for the end of the semester or finals week? And then if you have late work, make sure you know your class's late work policy. Or talk to the professor as soon as possible if you're struggling in any way. Because you might not be the only one, but it's better to talk to them than ignore the problem. And then figure out, what study tips from tonight or in general worked for you. And try to identify some people around you who you can lean on for support during finals week or as you prepare for finals. So whether that's a friend to hold you accountable, your professors, your TAs, your mentors, a peer tutor, whoever it may be. And this is an example of what your finals week or your finals prep checklist could look like. So just identifying what finals you have, when they are, and the tasks that you need to do in between. So just sharing some resources. Also, we'll share in the chat a Google sheet with different time management and finals prep templates that y'all can use by saving a copy to your own Google Drive. So I just put it in the chat, but on that spreadsheet, there's different things around time management, like creating a weekly time finder, quarter at a glance, or a habit tracker, and some other links and resources, such as the ones that Luis shared around AI. But also remember, you have resources on campus to definitely utilize, if you're feeling stressed, definitely use your mental health resources on campus, tutoring, if your school's basic needs or food pantry resources, and any of the other ones listed below. In addition, we have a list on that Google sheet that I just shared with y'all in the chat of different online resources as well around for studying, time management, organization. And then Speechify is also one where, if you're more of an audio learner, then if you copy like the text into the website, it'll read it out loud with AI as well. And I think if you use the free trial, you can choose like different voices that you can have it read your text to. And Trello's good for like project management. So if you have multiple things that you have different tasks, you can use that too. All right, I'm gonna pause there. But just a little other reminders. If you haven't registered for class or you're still finalizing your classes, make sure you do that this month. And also, if there is a class that you're on the edge of possibly not passing, definitely be aware of your school's add or drop deadline and talk to your professor or academic advisor. FAFSA is going to open in December. So as you all are preparing for finals, just be aware of that as well and talk to your parent or guardian for their piece as well. And of course, like, don't forget to continue applying to scholarships. FCE wise, if you haven't met with Luis or I, at least this semester, make sure to sign up for one-on-one meetings. And we have the recordings of the previous workshops for y'all and our College Success online mixers on the 17th. So this is the link to our workshop recordings. Luis is also going to share the exit ticket in the chat, but Luis, do you have anything else to add?
Yes, for the community college students, know that the deadline to apply to transfer to CSUs and UCs is this year, which is in less than 3 weeks. So if you are applying, I think it takes 2 hours per application. And you need help with the fees, let me know so FCE can cover up to 5. And also if you need any support in the process, let me know or someone.
So again, thank you for sharing that, Luis. So again, I'm putting the exit ticket in the chat, along with the resource list and workshop recordings, for those who need to review or watch any of the previous workshops. But yeah, otherwise, thank you all for coming tonight. Also, a quick announcement, our FCE Holiday Fair is on December 14th. So if any of you are going to be back in town on that day, or have free time after finals, then definitely encourage you all to attend if you can. But otherwise, our College Success Mixer online mixer is on the 17th. So again, please fill out the